All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon, Happy New Year. It's my pleasure to welcome the City Council back. We have some new members. We'll get to that in just a moment. I'm going to call to order this City Council meeting for the afternoon of January 14th. Tony, would you please call the roll?
Kamei? Here. Campos?
Present.
Cohen?
Here.
Ortiz?
Present.
Mulcahy?
Present.
Dwan?
Here.
Candelas?
Here.
Casey?
Here.
Foley? Here. Mahan?
Here. Thank you. Now, if you're able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. For today's invocation, I would like to invite up Rinban Gerald Sakamoto of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsuan, and Vice Mayor Kamei will tell us more.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rinban Gerald Sakamoto has been with the San Jose Buddhist Betsuan Church since 1986. He brings a high level of energy and focuses a lot of attention on our youth. We are part of what is called the Jodo Shinshu Buddhism practice, where the concept of interdependency is central to understanding reality, emphasizing that nothing exists independently, but rather rises in dependence on other factors. As we begin 2025 with our first council meeting and our new council colleagues, let us keep this in mind as we welcome Rinban Sakamoto for today's invocation.
Mayor Mahan, Vice Mayor Kamei, and other friends of the council, it's good to see all of you. Happy New Year on this first council. And to all of you, Happy New Year. As we begin this meeting today, I just wanted to say I grew up in Hawaii in the 50s and 60s. And at that time, I was born actually in the territory of Hawaii. It was still not a part of the United States until 1959 when Hawaii became the 50th state. It was a very rural time. It may be hard to imagine, but there was farming that was taking place in Hawaii. My relatives, I had relatives on the Waianae side of the island of Oahu where they grew, they were truck farmers and grew a row crop. And it wasn't unusual for the families in the area to have conversations and engage in activities together. And at one time, someone came to purchase a horse, and it seems like maybe you won't see horses in Hawaii, but in the 50s and 60s, it was still fairly rural. Not unlike what it was here in the 50s and 60s, when we were known as a Valley of Heart's Delight. It was before all of the tech industry came to San Jose. But a man came to buy a horse from a farmer, and the farmer said, he had a horse that he was willing to sell. But he told the buyer, he said, I'm willing to sell you this horse, but you have to know that the horse doesn't look so good. And the man said, it's okay. Doesn't matter if it looks good or not. It's fine. But a couple of days later, he came back. He was very angry, and he started telling the farmer, you sold me a horse that's no good. The horse is blind. And the farmer said, I told you, the horse don't look so good. Sorry, Rosemary. So, Buddhism reminds us of the importance of seeing things as they are. Our assumptions and prejudices often influence how we engage the world. Sometimes we need to step back and consider our perception, whether we are able to see things as they are, May we respond with empathy and kindness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rinbun. All right, we're now on to ceremonial items, and we have a very special first ceremonial item today to start the new year. I'm going to turn things over to our city clerk, Tony Tabor, who will be calling on our recently elected council members and me to do our oath of office for our terms. Tony?
Hi, I'd like to start with District 2, Councilmember Campos. If the family of Councilmember Campos would please come on down. So the council member's oath will be performed by her mother.
And then Pao, you can stand behind me.
Yo, Pamela Campos, juro solemnemente
Yo, Pamela Campos, juro solemnemente
que apoyaré y defenderé
que apoyaré y defenderé
la Constitución de los Estados Unidos y la Constitución del Estado de California
la Constitución de los Estados Unidos y la Constitución del Estado de California
contra todos los enemigos internos y externos,
contra todos los enemigos internos y externos,
que llevaré verdadera fe y lealtad
que llevaré verdadera fe y lealtad
a la Constitución de los Estados Unidos y la Constitución del Estado de California,
a la Constitución de los Estados Unidos y la Constitución del Estado de California,
que tomo esta obligación libremente,
que tomo esta obligación libremente,
sin ninguna reserva mental o propósito de evasión,
sin ninguna reserva mental o propósito de evasión,
y que cumpliré bien y fielmente
y que cumpliré bien y fielmente
los deberes que estoy a punto de empezar.
los deberes que estoy a punto de empezar. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call down the Councilmember Cohen. If his family would like to join him, you're welcome to, and his oath will be performed by Thelma Boak.
Ready, David? Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, David Cohen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
I'd like to call down the family for Councilmember Mulcahy. And his oath will be performed by his wife, Kimberly.
I state your name.
I, Michael Mulcahy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
I'd like to call down the family for Council Member Candelas. I state your name.
I, Domingo Candelas,
Do solemnly swear
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and
I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, family.
I'd like to call down the family of Councilmember Casey. And his oath will be performed by Steve Pinkston.
Please repeat. I state your name.
I, George Casey,
Do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or
purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Merci. Merci. Merci.
I state your name.
I, Matt Mahan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I'll bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and I take this obligation freely
And I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and I will well and faithfully
And I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I just want to quickly say a word of welcome to all of our new council members just before we move on. It's an incredible honor to represent and serve such a diverse and dynamic and engaged city. And you all will now get to experience that immense privilege. And so we just welcome you all to the council, look forward to working with you to create better outcomes for our community here in San Jose. So congratulations to each of our newly elected council members. We are going to continue with our ceremonial items for today, and I would like to invite Councilmember Dewan to join me here at the podium where we will recognize and proclaim January as National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Councilmember Dewan. And as he's coming down, I just want to thank all the friends and family members who came out to celebrate with our new council members. Thank you all for being so engaged in our community, and congratulations to all of you as well. Councilmember?
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations to all of our new council member, and I would please come on up. Thank you for all being here. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we come together to recognize a cause that demands our attention and collective action, the National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. The International Labor Organization estimated that 25 million people around the world, 25 million people, are subjected to human trafficking and forced labor every single day. This heartbreaking reality persists despite global and domestic effort to prevent it. Tragically, trafficking knows no borders. It affects people of all ages, race, genders, and nationality in community both near and far. As leader and citizen, it is our responsibility to advocate for and enforce laws that protect the most vulnerable among us. We must remain vigilant in identifying and addressing exploitation wherever it occurs. This month serves as a critical reminder that the fight to protect, support, and seek justice for trafficking victims is far from over. It's also a call to action, a reminder that together we can create safer, more just community. Let us honor this moment by renewing our commitment to ending human trafficking and building a future where everyone is free to live with dignity and hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm Sharon Deneau. I direct the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, and I'm joined by our Legal Services Chair, Jessica Jenkins, who's with Bay Area Legal Aid. In 2003, the Trafficking Victim Protection Act codified human trafficking as a crime punishable and also created protections for survivors of trafficking. In that year, the coalition was formed by Community Solutions and the Catherine George Alexander Community Law Center. In 2005, the City of San Jose and San Jose Police Department became core partners in this fight against trafficking. The coalition has always prioritized focusing on prevention of trafficking, prosecution of traffickers, protection of survivors through coordinated partnership. And it's through this collaboration that we're able to achieve building capacity to provide services and access to survivors, as well as hold those accountable for trafficking. In our fiscal year of 2024, we saw our service providers provide comprehensive case management to over 435 survivors. This includes minors and adults of sex and/or labor trafficking. Our legal service providers provided crucial services in over 145 cases of human trafficking. And our law enforcement task force opened 29 new investigations. This collaboration is becoming increasingly important as we see more instability happening in terms of funding and impacting marginalized communities. We know that there have already been VOCA funding cuts that have been served to cut vital services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, trafficking, child abuse, and elder abuse. We also know that we have a lot of potential here in 2026 to uphold a human rights approach as we host the World Cup as well as the Super Bowl. We look forward to continued partnership with the City of San Jose and thank the council member for prioritizing this issue this month and the City of San Jose for continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Councilor Condelis to join me at the podium, and we will recognize the Santa Clara Valley chapter of the California Native Plant Society.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be here today to recognize the incredible work of the Santa Clara Valley chapter of the California Native Plant Society. I want to thank the co-presidents of the chapter, Vivian and Priya, as well as the garden leads, Arvind, Ashok, Kathy, and Tilak, for joining us today. The California Native Plant Society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the protection and conservation of California's native plants and their ecosystems. The Santa Clara Valley chapter plays a critical role within the Native Plant Society network by focusing on the vibrant flora of Santa Clara County and southern San Mateo County, an area rich with diverse plant species and unique habitats. An example of their work can be seen at our very own Lake Cunningham, home to the Native Plant Garden, lovingly maintained by Arvind and Ashok. They live in Council District 8. Since its founding in 1972, this chapter has provided countless opportunities for local residents to engage with nature and learn about the plants that define our region. Through education and advocacy, the chapter has led efforts to raise awareness about the importance of preserving our native plants. This chapter is made up of passionate individuals who dedicate their time, knowledge, and energy to a communal cause that benefits us all, whether it's through weekend restoration projects or leading a field trip. These volunteers help to ensure that our native plants and ecosystems are here for future generations. In fact, Mayor Mahan, Congressman Panetta, and I were actually out there a couple months ago. Remember, removing stinkwort. Who knows what stinkwort is? It's an invasive plant. I didn't know that until I came out. It's sticky. It's the worst. But anyways, I want to thank the chapter for your dedicated efforts. And before I pass the mic, I wanted to invite everybody this Saturday, January 18th, actually, the Native Plant Society, in collaboration with our office and Mayor Mahan, is doing a cleanup from 9 to 12. So if you want to help remove stinkwort, come on out to Lake Cunningham. And so that being said, I'd like to invite Co-President Vivian to share a few words before we present the commendation.
Thank you so much. And thank you all. Thank you, San Jose. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor, for this recognition. We really appreciate it. We've been working on bringing more native plants to San Jose for many, many years. Arvind and Shook's Lake Cunningham project, they actually started in 2002, so that's over 2 decades now that they've been working on it. And we have our 2 most recent projects at Cataldi Park and Kirk Park, so thank you for the support. The Beautify SJ project has really provided a lot of support for us. And we also have another very large, in fact, probably our largest project is at Alum Rock Park. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of opportunities for those of you who might be interested in actually getting your hands down in the dirt, pulling up some stinkboard. It is work, but it's very rewarding and it improves our environment. It makes you healthier. But in addition to the work days, which are generally on Saturday mornings, those beautiful native plant gardens are there all the time. So take a break, visit one of the parks, see one of these beautiful native plant gardens, learn a little bit about native plants. You can bring them into your own gardens at home. And we really, really thank San Jose for everything you've done for us, for the community, and we appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you present the commendation?
Councilmember and I enjoyed getting our hands dirty. Thank you.
We'll be out there this weekend.
We will.
Yeah,
That's right.
thank you.
Here, I'll jump on the other side.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll see you out there in the garden. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you to our council members who brought forth ceremonials today. We're on to orders of the day. We have an adjournment, but first let me ask if anyone has changes to the printed agenda. Not seeing any. Today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of Gloria Luis Munoz Rodriguez, who passed away on August 13th, 2024. Gloria exemplified the resilience of Chicana single mothers in Eastside San Jose, and she always strived to provide the best for her 3 sons. She also always remained committed to her community, playing an active role in clothing and toy drives throughout San Jose. She leaves behind a legacy of selflessness, love, and community commitment. Councilmember Ortiz will tell us more. Councilmember?
Thank you, Mayor. Today, as we adjourn this meeting, we do so with heavy hearts and profound gratitude for the life of Gloria Rodriguez, who left this world on August 13th, 2024. Gloria was a woman whose life was a testament to resilience, love, and unwavering faith in the power of community. As a devoted single mother, she faced tremendous challenges, yet never let those challenges define her or her family. Through financial struggles and personal sacrifices, Gloria poured her heart into raising 3 sons, including Pastor Danny, who has become a beacon of hope and leadership for so many today. Her home was more than just a shelter. It was a sanctuary. Gloria welcomed not only her children, but their friends, offering them warmth, meals, and a sense of belonging. Her impact extended beyond her family. Gloria was a light in her community, giving of herself through clothing and toy drives that brought joy and relief to those in need. Her compassion was felt by countless families, and her generosity reflected a deep commitment to building a better, kinder world. Gloria exemplified the resilience and determination of so many Chicana single mothers in East San Jose, striving to provide the very best for their children in the face of adversity. She represented the heart and soul of this community, and her memory serves as a powerful reminder of what can be achieved through love, perseverance, and service to others. But Gloria's story does not end here. It lives on through her son, Pastor Danny, and the work he leads with the City Peace Project. This initiative, rooted in the belief that investing in today's community can transform the culture of tomorrow. reflects everything Gloria stood for. She believed in compassion and bringing joy to others, and in the ability of one person's actions to ripple through a community and create lasting change. As we adjourn, let us carry Gloria's memory in our heart and honor her legacy by continuing to invest in our community and in the next generation. Let us live by her example of selflessness, compassion, and unwavering hope for a better tomorrow. Now I will let her son, Pastor Danny, share a few words. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, thank you so much. I remember growing up on Tennyson Lane, right off of King and Story Road behind Dick's Supermarket. I would spend my days running around with my two brothers, Roy and Isaac, and just having fun all day. And we lived with our grandparents. And I remember, getting into a lot of trouble. And I went to Arbuckle, I went to Matson, I went to Overfelt, and many other schools because of all of the trouble that I got into. But one thing I also remember is that my mom, being a single mother, she never gave up on us. She was always there for me. Even when I got into trouble with going to juvenile hall and being involved in other things that I shouldn't have been involved with, my mom was always there for me. Now I have the opportunity to work with tens of thousands of kids in San Jose through our organization, the City Peace Project. We're at multiple schools focusing on 4th through 12th grade, and we're able to give them hope, love, and support. And just as these council members today were being sworn in, I swear to protect, support, and serve these parents in our community. I swear to help these kids to grow up and to help them to have a better life. I know my mom would be proud, and I'm so thankful that we're here to recognize and celebrate her life, but that legacy will live on through myself, the organization, my brothers, her family, and all her friends that came up to support us today. So I want to thank you so much for your love and support. My mom is a daughter of the city. I am a son of the city, and we will continue to leave a legacy of love and hope. And I want to end with a verse. This is a verse that was for my mom's funeral, because one day we will have true peace. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. Revelation 21:7. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Pastor, to you and your family, we all mourn with you and are very sorry for your loss. Thank you for being here today. Okay, we are going to move on to our closed session report. Nora?
Here we go.
There it is.
2 weeks off, and I can't remember how to do this. We do not have a report out of closed session today, except for a personnel announcement that Jennifer will provide.
Yes, thank you, Nora. I am very pleased to announce the unanimous City Council's confirmation of Aaron Kujunun as our new Director of Human Resources Department and the City Manager's Office of Employee Relations. Aaron will assume the position on February 18th, 2025. Aaron, would you please stand? Aaron will, and let's give him a round of applause. A little bit about Aaron. Aaron will lead 70 full-time equivalent employees and oversee a combined annual operating budget of close to $144 million. He will be responsible for the 5 core services in the Human Resources Department, including employee benefits, employment services, health and safety, training and development, and strategic support. He will also lead the employee and labor relations functions for the city, serving as the chief labor negotiator for the city's 12 bargaining units. As we all know, the Director of Human Resources plays an important role in ensuring our city's services and programs are fully staffed and supporting our employees through training, development, and safety programs so they can better serve our diverse community. In addition, the Office of Employee Relations Director is critical to ensuring we have labor stability with our workforce and a place for employees to go for employment concerns. Aaron brings nearly 30 years of broad and progressive human resources, employee relations, and employment law experience to the role. He began his career as a private sector attorney in December 1995, representing clients in employment law matters. He joined the public sector in 2009 and has served as both the Assistant and Associate General Counsel to the Los Angeles Unified School District, where he worked on labor and employment matters for the nation's second largest school district. He later joined the City of Los Angeles Personnel Department as Assistant General Manager, where he oversaw 4 operational divisions, including public safety recruitment and selection, background investigations, medical services, and the Office of Workplace Equity. Aaron most recently served as the Director of Human Resources for the City of Berkeley. During his tenure, he achieved net hiring gains of 12% above attrition, launched new staff recruitment marketing campaigns, and drafted a holistic workplace equity policy. He also redesigned the city's internal training program to align with career pathways and modernized the city's personnel filing system. Aaron also oversaw all labor negotiations for the city. I have found Aram to be very personable and a good communicator with both excellent writing and active listening skills. I'm also pleased with his focus on employment access and opportunity and how our one team values resonate so well with him. He holds a Juris Doctor from the University of the Pacific McGeorge School of Law, a Master of Arts in English from California State University Northridge, and a Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of California Los Angeles. Very accomplished. Aram is a member of the California State Bar. Before I ask Aram to come up, I would like to thank Jennifer Chambry, if you'd please stand, Jennifer, for holding multiple roles as the Director of HR and OER and Deputy City Manager since August of 2024, since she was promoted. She did an amazing job of leading and managing as a Director and a Deputy City Manager while this recruitment was underway. I'd also like our Human Resources Department and Employee Relations Department employees to please stand as well to show their support and just a small representation of the employees doing all the work in these areas. So thank you very much. So let's all join me in congratulating Aram on his new appointment, and I'll have Aram come up. So let's give him another round of applause.
Thank you so much for entrusting me with this tremendous responsibility. As I have shared throughout the recruitment and the selection process, mine is an immigrant story. I grew up learning English as a second language and watched my parents juggle multiple jobs to make a better life for us. So I understand personally the importance of employment access, and I will be committed to ensuring fair, equitable employment access to all those who are seeking to join the city of San Jose and those who are here seeking to promote, to grow professionally and personally. I look forward to working with our employee unions in support of city employees in order to deliver the highest caliber services to all the people of San Jose. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Aaron. Very proud.
Thank you, Jennifer. Congratulations, Aaron. We're so excited to have you on the team here at the city. That was it for the closed session report. Next is the consent calendar. I'm aware of at least one item. Councilor Cohen, I believe, would like to pull item 2.8. Is that correct? And then were there any others? Okay, let's go to Councilor Cohen first.
Yeah, Eric, I just wanted to ask a couple questions to clarify on item 2.8. I'm really excited that we're at this stage in the process for our safe parking site on Berryessa Road, and that we will be partnering with We Hope, who I think will do a great job there, and so I'm excited about it. Just want to clarify, one of the concerns people have had is about people needing to have registered vehicles and all the appropriate documentation, and I read it in here, I want to just make sure it's answered out loud. This site will not require all the paperwork to be done before vehicles can move onto the site, is that correct?
Thank you, Councilmember Cohen. Eric Sullivan, Housing Director. That's correct. We will not have any barriers. This will be considered low barrier, safe parking management. So registration insurance, we won't have those requirements. So we will be providing services to help them get the vehicles registered post-admission.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then one other question. So one of my concerns, obviously, about this kind of site, we've done this once before, but unlike some of the inner housing where we're looking for placements for people, many people come in and stay on this site. Is We Hope going to work with us to try to find placement for people and maybe even work on some placements and other options around the city where we can have people take their RVs with them as they move into placement?
Yes, so part of the charge to We Hope that we have included in our initial contracting documents is to ensure that they are providing comprehensive services for those who want to transition to more permanent housing. They have that option, as well as options within our broader shelter system as we continue to build this out. So that is a charge to We Hope, though acknowledging, as you mentioned, Councilmember, that at our current Santa Teresa parking slot, not many have taken up that option. However, we'll continue to provide that service and provide that encouragement.
And one of the barriers for that is that people don't want to leave their RV behind and go somewhere else. So I just hope that we're looking at options for people to be able to take their RVs with them. And I know you said people who want to take it, are we going to, I just hope that our approach is that we're not expecting this to be a permanent placement for people, and that everybody who's on the site should engage in this process to try to find some more permanent solution.
Yes, there is sort of a two-pronged approach there. One is those who are willing to give up their asset and move to more permanent housing. The other is those who may want to join some existing RV, more permanent mobile housing parks. So we're providing options across the board for those who are willing to take that up as an encouragement to sort of transition forward from the safe parking site.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And with that, I'll move acceptance of the consent calendar.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands. Tony, do we have public comment on the consent calendar?
We do not.
Okay, let's come back to the council. Still no hands, so let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you all. All right, we are on to item 3.1, report of the city manager.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor and City Council. I do have a short report. I'm pleased to share that the City of San Jose's Clean Energy Department, in partnership with Silicon Valley Clean Energy, was recently awarded $6 million of $12 million of a charging and fueling infrastructure grant from the Federal Highway Administration to install electric vehicle or EV charging stations in underserved communities throughout the county of Santa Clara. This project will install 237 EV charging ports in San Jose and neighboring cities within the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Service Area. 120 of the ports will be installed at 12 city-owned libraries, community centers, and parks. By providing these resources, we will expand EV charging access in underserved communities and help meet the goals in our environmental and utility services city service area. Substantial advocacy efforts were required to achieve this award. I want to thank the entire San Jose congressional delegation, especially Senator Padilla, Representatives Khanna, Lofgren, Pineda, and former Representative Eshu for their support. I'd also like to extend my deepest gratitude to our local community partners who helped demonstrate support for these projects, such as the Bay Area Council, Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and many other community advocates who joined these efforts. Lastly, I would like to thank our Departments of Energy, Transportation, and Public Works, and the City Manager's Office of Administration, Policy, and Intergovernmental Relations, and the Mayor's Office for their advocacy, which played an important role in securing this grant. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. That's exciting news. We're on to item 3.3. This is an audit report on access to and use of neighborhood blight programs in traditionally marginalized communities. We have a staff presentation, so we'll wait for Joe and the team to get down into the box, and then they can jump in.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Joe Royce, City Auditor. I'm here with Brittany Harvey, Michael O'Connell, and Adrian Perez to present our audit on the access and use of neighborhood blight reduction programs. Beautify SJ can continue and expand its equity efforts. Also in the box are Olympia Williams, John Cicerelli from the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, and Deputy City Manager Angel Rios. The objective of this audit was to assess the access to and use of Beautify SJ's neighborhood blight reduction and beautification programs by traditionally marginalized communities. The genesis of the audit was direction in the Mayor's March 2023 budget message to explore an audit of access and use of our most critical services by traditionally marginalized communities. I propose to take that project on in a series of audits, starting with programs found in the city's four city council focus areas. The programs within this audit fall within the Cleaning Up Our Neighborhoods focus area. The Beautify SJ neighborhood blight reduction and beautification programs provide a variety of services, including illegal dumping and graffiti removal, neighborhood beautification, litter pickups and volunteer events, and grant programs to promote neighborhood association engagement and support. Beautify SJ is located within the Department of Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Services, or PRNS, and residents access services under these programs in different ways, such as through San Jose 311 or SJ 311, the PRNS website, and other means. The fiscal year 24-25 budget for these programs totaled $10.3 million. We had one finding, and that's priority communities have received the same or higher levels of service from neighborhood blight reduction programs. To assess the Beautify SJ service delivery and access and use of services, the audit used 3 different equity lenses to assess program service delivery for neighborhood blight reduction programs. The Healthy Places Index is a project of the Public Health Alliance of Southern California that uses community indicators like education, job opportunities, and clean air and water to assess and place census tracts and quartiles based on their assessment of the health of the communities. We also use the San Jose Equity Atlas, which is a tool created by the city using data to identify census tracts with higher proportions of people of color and lower household incomes to help departments inform equity work. Lastly, we use the Equity Priority Communities developed by the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, or MTC. These are census tracts with significant concentrations of underserved populations, incorporating demographic factors such as race, income, English proficiency, disability status, and age. We found that priority communities under these equity lenses received a higher proportion of Beautify SJ grants and dumpster days than other communities. We also note that though priority neighborhoods have had higher incidents of reported graffiti and illegal dumping, there had not been a discernible difference in timeliness of graffiti removal or illegal dumping responses across neighborhoods. We did note that Beautify SJ can maintain and review disaggregated program data moving forward to ensure continued equitable access and use of its services. Lastly, we noted that language translations can be improved across different city platforms, and PRNS can expand access to volunteer events by providing accessibility information. We had recommendations to PRNS, the Information Technology Department, and the administration in general to maintain and review disaggregated data on Beautify SJ services to ensure continued equitable service delivery, improve translation options and guidance for SJ 311 and the grant and volunteer websites, and include accessibility statements for volunteer events. The report has 6 recommendations. We'd like to thank PRNS, the Information Technology Department, Finance, and the Office of Racial and Social Equity for their time and insight during the audit process. As you accept the report, we're happy to answer any questions, but I'll turn it over to Olympia or John for the administration's response.
Thank you. On behalf of the administration, I want to thank Joe Royce and his auditor's team for their time and dedication to helping with this audit. It's always nice to have an independent party affirm that a program's working well and we're hitting our target areas and we're doing it in a timely manner. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, and in all those areas, we see those as achievable. So thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. So, Tony, do we have any public comment?
We have no cards.
Okay, come back to the council. We'll start with Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to staff. I appreciate the work of our city auditor on this first audit, focusing on the very important subject of equitable access to our city's critical resources. Of course, I also want to thank PRNS and, of course, Beautify SJ for their continued hard work in tackling the blight in our city. Appreciate that, and I know that my residents appreciate it as well. I want to start out with some questions I have for Olympia. Really quickly, has staff, well, you don't have to answer really quickly, but has staff previously considered a targeted blight reduction program in areas where blight is more systemic?
Hi, Olympia Williams, Deputy Director, PRNS. Thank you for the question, Councilmember. Yes, it is something that we have explored and piloted one time in the past. We did kind of a targeted approach along the 6.2 mile area of the Monterey corridor and had some positive results when we did that project.
That's great. Good to have that background regarding the Monterey corridor. In regards to across the city for these census designated tracts where these areas are more systemic, have you ever thought about envisioning a program like this that may tackle those areas in every single district? And do you have any idea of how something like that what it may cost?
What I can say, council members, we are always looking for ways that we can improve services and really trying to lean towards that prevention and moving towards relying on prevention more than eradication. We do know that place-based strategies do work. However, when we look at it citywide, unfortunately, our illegal dumping and graffiti issues have been unfortunate across all areas, all council districts, every neighborhood's been touched by this. If you're asking me if I think that these type of strategies can have positive results, of course.
I mean, like a more proactive approach that targets more hotspot areas.
Hotspot areas. It's something like that, we haven't had a chance to delve into deeply because we just haven't had dedicated funding to address it. But also we're looking at coming back with the MBA as stated in your supplemental memo, and where we can look at the various options that are available and present something at that time.
Great. Hopefully it passes, but I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Is there any idea if something like this was introduced, or if it was introduced today and accepted, which areas would benefit most from this? Which areas in the city?
So we do have several areas throughout the city that have had ongoing issues around blight. I'm thinking of specific areas in District 5, District 7. We have areas in District 6. We have a particular area in District 10. So there are areas throughout the city and every council district that could benefit from some type of targeted approach.
Thank you. Thank you, Olympia. So when you look at the San Jose Equity Atlas, one of the metrics this audit used to determine what a historically marginalized community is, the census tracts with a combined score of 8, 9, and 10 are almost entirely in Districts 3, 5, and 7, and some areas stretching a bit further down into District 2. These scores seem to be a very accurate predictor of where systemic blight is located, where our existing services are not necessarily meeting the need that exists in these communities, and where residents feel neglected by services. Doesn't mean that we're not working hard, but these are areas in which I feel like we need to go a little bit extra deeper. And while I'm glad to see that there are no critical gaps in timelines in responding to graffiti and illegal dumping, and that dumpster days and grants are concentrated in the neighborhoods where they're most needed, I think it's important to differentiate between equity in treatment versus equity in outcome, right? I'm glad we respond at the same time as we respond to every district, but there's some districts, unfortunately, that are perennially more dirty. The historically marginalized areas of my district still see a major difference in the state of cleanliness and, of course, of blight. And such, that's why I introduced a memo alongside Councilmembers Campos and Dewan to direct staff to prepare an MBA to outline funding necessary for a geographically focused outreach and education and enforcement pilot to hopefully tackle system blight where it is. And I know we have a hard year ahead of us, but as clean neighborhoods remain a core priority for the city, I think it's important to know our options for enhanced programs as soon as possible. So I just want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Campos and Dewan, for your collaboration, and I want to move our memo.
Second.
All right, great. Let's see other hands. We have a motion. Tony, we already took public comment. Why don't we vote?
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you all. Okay, we're on to items 3.4 and 3.5. We will hear the items jointly, so there will be a staff presentation that will touch on both, and then we'll take separate motions and votes on each item.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. My name is Sarah Sarate. I'm the Director of the Office of Administration, Policy, and Intergovernmental Relations. I'm joined today by the Intergovernmental Relations team, including Zane Barnes, our Chief Intergovernmental Relations Officer, Steve Stamos and Nicholas Ochoa from IGR, and our state lobbying partner, Steve Cruz from Cruz Strategies, and Leslie Polner from Holland and Knight. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank Ryan Coonerty and Mackenzie Mossing in the Mayor's Office for strengthening our work. We're excited to present the Fall 2024 Intergovernmental Relations Report and the 2025 Legislative Program and Legislative Priorities. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the team.
Since August, with internal and external teams, we continue to advocate for $5.5 million in federal earmark funding, which is currently pending with passage of the 2025 federal budget. Additionally, through significant advocacy in partnership with the Valley Transportation Authority, the BART Silicon Valley Phase 2 received a funding commitment of $5.1 billion from the FTA in August. During this period, we monitored over 355 bills, the vast majority at the state level. Accordingly, we issued over 50 legislative and funding advocacy letters advancing the city's priorities. We were successful in having one of our sponsored bills signed into law, which we will highlight later in the presentation. We also held our annual legislative advocacy trip to Sacramento, where we went with the city's entire staff delegation to vocalize the city's interests, in addition to other trips focused on specific legislation. We'll start by providing a brief overview of recent developments at the federal and state levels, including a quick review of some of the key legislation from the end of the two-year legislative sessions, an update on our advocacy efforts, and a preview of the next two-year legislative sessions. The bills we'll discuss today are only a snapshot. A more extensive list of city positions can be found in the federal and state legislative logs, which are attachments A and B to the memo. Given that this report reflects the end of the two-year legislative sessions at the state and federal level, the attached logs do not contain any bills introduced in the state special legislative session or in the 119th Congress.
Good afternoon. As Zane mentioned, for the 2025 federal budget, we submitted 5 earmark requests that were included in the THUD appropriations bill, totaling $5.5 million. This includes $2 million for Alum Rock Business Corridor revitalization, $2 million for Cahalan Park upgrades, $1 million for Yerba Buena Bridge reconstruction, $250,000 for sideshow and street racing deterrence, and $250,000 for a Happy Hollow Park microgrid. These earmarks are still pending passage of the final budget. In August, VTA received a historic $5.1 billion funding commitment from FTA for the BART Silicon Valley Phase 2, pending a full funding grant agreement. IGR engaged in significant advocacy and partnership with VTA on this funding and continue to coordinate as the project seeks to receive the funding agreement by the end of the year. Additionally, IGR has provided support as VTA addresses the $700 million funding gap for the project and pursues supplemental funding sources. On December 20th, Congress passed a second continuing resolution to avert a government shutdown and extend federal spending through March 14th, 2025. This CR included $100 billion in supplemental funding to support federal disaster relief programs. Congress must raise or suspend the debt ceiling in early 2025 to avoid defaulting on the national debt and prevent a government shutdown. Not included in the continuing resolution, unfortunately, was reauthorization of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA. WIOA directly impacts the city's workforce development initiatives, including the city's Work to Future programs. Reauthorization has bipartisan support in Congress, but recent efforts stalled over Republicans' demands to slim down the continuing resolution to which the WIOA reauthorization was attached. In addition, IGR continues to monitor the presidential transition and its related impacts on city priorities and residents. As always, we will continue to engage with our federal delegation on priority areas such as BART, grant funding, quiet zones, housing, and homelessness. For the 119th Congress that convened on January 3rd, the first few months are going to be focused on wrapping up the 2025 federal budget ahead of the March 14th continuing resolution expiration, and of course on budget reconciliation. At the moment, Congress is continuing to debate whether or not that package will be one or two bills, but it will likely emphasize border security, energy, defense spending, and tax reform. We also anticipate significant action on immigration from the incoming presidential administration. President Trump has signaled that he plans to issue at least 100 executive orders on his first day alone, and we expect to see efforts to ramp up border security and to expand deportations. Other areas of focus for this year will be, of course, addressing the debt ceiling, as previously mentioned, reauthorizing the surface transportation funding bill, and the farm bill.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Steve Cruz with Cruz Strategies to provide a state update. And I'll quickly start with a recap of 2024. And I'll start with homelessness and funding. And this is the HAP funding that the cities and counties and continuum care were able to secure in the budget of $1 billion. It's a fairly new program going back about 5 years, just as cities really started to take on more of a role in dealing with homeless issues. They were able to secure this flexible funding in the budget. And every year, it's not in the governor's proposed budget as it is this year, and we have to work with the legislature. And I know the mayor was heavily involved with the big city mayors, and ultimately through the budget process, we did get that $1 billion. And again, it goes towards preventing homelessness. So pleased to report that. And for earmarks, because of the condition of the budget last January, which is a $55 billion budget, we'll talk in a moment, it's a better situation in 2025, but there were few earmarks, if none, in last year's budget, but we did spend some time trying to protect earmarks from the prior year. So Lake Cunningham, we had secured funding, and there was an effort to claw back that funding, and fortunately we were able to keep those dollars. Another one is ERAF, and so for those of you that property tax that really dig into these issues and excess ERAF, it gets fairly complicated, but under that formula, property taxes and an allocation to schools, huge benefit immensely to the tune of about $41 million to the city. And so there was a threat and a change of the formula by the Department of Finance to send some of these dollars to charter schools, and so we were able to push back that last year, and hopefully we don't see it again this year. And then I know it was already mentioned with BART and Phase 2 extension. From our standpoint, it was working to secure the support from the governor of our application, that we were successful was ultimate at the federal level. So we got the governor, we got our delegation, including Senator Cortese, who chairs the Transportation Committee in California, to support those efforts. And so we were pleased to get that. Obviously, our goal next year will be to try to protect it. On the legislative front, a lot of bills, as I had mentioned, but a few just to highlight was SB 1031 by Senator Weiner. You probably heard a lot about that and maybe engaged either through the city or different capacities, but this was the bill by Senator Scott Weiner that would have placed the regional transportation measure, 9-county regional transportation measure, before voters. We had concerns with that. We heard a lot about that, return to source and other issues. And with the support of the mayor and the city, we were able to stall that bill, and it has been reintroduced, albeit in a different form, and I'm sure there'll be more discussion about that. It does exclude Santa Clara at the moment, but I know there'll be a lot of discussion on that bill. Next year, the bill number is SB 63, excuse me, going into next year. I'll highlight just two other things. Relative to downtown revitalization, we did support and co-sponsor a bill with Senator Weiner, SB 969, related to outdoor entertainment zones, and have been working closely with him and with Assemblymember Haney, who now chairs the subcommittee. So we'll continue to engage and inform as they develop more policies around downtown recovery and revitalization. And lastly, SB 549, we weren't successful in stopping this bill, but this was the legislation that allowed litigation to challenge the validity of certain games at card rooms, including those in the city of San Jose. And long story short, it created a window for lawsuits to be filed on January 1st, and to no surprise, I think there's 80 lawsuits. And so the window closes at the end of March, and so we will continue to monitor that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of long-term litigation involved in that. Looking forward to the 2025 session, just briefly, the November elections, there were 34 open seats and 31 new members. The 3 were members who moved over from the Assembly up to the Senate. So the makeup of the legislature hasn't changed in terms of the supermajority of Democrats. The Senate is 30 Democrats, 10 Republicans. The Assembly, 60 Democrats and 20 Republicans. And just to point out, between the last election cycle and this one, 70% of the legislature is new. So a lot of educating, a lot of changes in committee makeup. So a lot of education on issues. Coming into this session, I think there was made reference to it, a focus on the change in the White House and expected conflicts in positions on issues around immigration and environment, healthcare, and that's still, I think, at the forefront. But the fires, obviously, in Los Angeles have sort of eclipsed, I think, all other matters at the moment as the governor and the state and the legislature try to respond to that. So we saw already, I mean, every day there's 3 or 4 executive orders. One of the big ones was $2.5 billion set aside for LA fire recovery. There is some funding in there, I think statewide, for fire prevention, so we'll continue to monitor that. We'll continue to want to stay engaged on housing and homeless issues for next year. The HAP funding will be something that's not in the budget that we'll have to fight for again, as the mayor is well aware. I'll just point out that artificial intelligence was a big issue last year. It was probably the theme that started really to evolve. A lot of bills on artificial intelligence. There was a one signature bill by Senator Wiener that tried to put SB 1047 that put in place a lot of limitations on it. May not be the exact adjective to describe it, but they started to put restrictions on it. The governor vetoed it, and it really sort of set off a whole process. And we're working closely with the city to engage next year on a number of bills related to in that subject area. So that concludes my comments.
Now we'll cover item 3.4, providing an update to the city's legislative priorities and providing an overview for the development of the city's 2025 legislative program. Given the volume and activity at the regional, state, and federal levels, these priorities help keep us organized to drive results in key areas. The content that we'll discuss around the legislative program is only a snapshot. The full document can be found in the attachment to this item. IGR is guided by 5 legislative priorities as approved by City Council in November 2023. These priorities inform how IGR focuses the city's advocacy resources. We are recommending updating legislative priorities for 2025 that have been drafted through the evaluation of the city's legislative and funding needs, legislative windows that may be available, and finding synergy with the 4 council-approved focus areas. All departments have been consulted in the development of the legislative program and legislative priorities. The proposed legislative priorities are reduce unsheltered homelessness, support unhoused residents, and increase opportunities for affordable housing, enhance community safety initiatives and realize Vision Zero, advocate for educational and employment opportunities that foster equitable outcomes for San Jose families, drive downtown revitalization and cultivate equitable investment in our neighborhoods, and pursue funding for equitable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure and accelerate San Jose's climate-smart goals. The proposed 2025 legislative program was developed in consultation with all of the city's departments throughout fall 2024. This slide highlights the key changes that have been made in response to evolving city needs and a challenging political landscape at the federal level. Major themes include adding protections to safeguard city residents and businesses against new federal policies and legislation, increasing affordability at the state level, seeking resources for major sporting events being held in the South Bay in 2026, and advocating for guardrails in the development of artificial intelligence. In terms of potential city-sponsored legislation, we're looking at 4 opportunities that are tied to our legislative priorities. First, we're seeking legislation that would avail tax credits for the production of new interim housing. As you may know, much of our interim housing stock were built to HCD standards with amenities such as a private bathroom and kitchenette, and we believe this type of housing solution should be available for tax credits, as carve-outs already exist for other housing types such as seniors and veterans. Second, we're seeking a legislative remedy to address the issue of abandoned shopping carts. IGR has had preliminary meetings with the League of California Cities and the California Grocers Association on potential legislative remedy that would aim to remove the impound requirement and allow for cost recovery. Third, we're looking to sponsor legislation to address the ongoing issue of copper theft. The city has hundreds of streetlights out due to stolen or vandalized copper wires, as do so many cities across the state. We're discussing potential legislative solutions with partners to address this. Lastly, we are seeking enabling legislation that would allow the city to seek voter approval to raise the local sales tax and strengthen the city's budget. We have tiered our other legislative efforts according to expected level of effort. We will spend considerable effort in partnership with VTA in securing the full funding grant agreement for BART Silicon Valley Phase 2. We'll also be working closely with the Bay Area Host Committee in preparation for major sporting events occurring in 2026. Following the March and November 2024 elections, we will be also engaging with the county and state on the implementation of Propositions 1 and 36. On the legislative front, we will continue to work with partners on builders' remedy legislation, homelessness funding, and a regional transportation measure, among others. On the third tier, we will continue to monitor for opportunities to increase local control on blight and towing, seek flexibility and exemptions on the advanced clean fleet regulations, and pursue funding opportunities from the climate bond. To drive legislative wins, IGR engages with a broad spectrum of state and federal coalitions. This slide highlights some of the key coalitions we regularly interact with. The Big City Mayors Coalition has been especially helpful in securing homelessness funding, youth workforce formula funding, and assistance with budget priorities. The League of California Cities is especially helpful in our advocacy for local control, transportation, and alignment on ballot measures. Although primarily leveraged by DOT, cacti were especially helpful as we sought to get automated speed enforcement to become a reality. We also use coalitions at the national level. The U.S. Conference of Mayors has been incredibly helpful in advocacy on public safety, housing, and transportation. Similarly, the National League of Cities has been especially helpful on family-focused legislation, fiscal stability, and transportation. In the coming legislative sessions, IGR will place greater emphasis on federal issues as new presidential administration policies may adversely impact the city. We will also engage our new state and federal representatives and continue to strengthen relationships with our existing representatives. IGR will also focus on regional coordination, greater engagement with our citywide legislative team, raising the profile of San Jose, as well as a pointed effort to expand our alliances and work with coalitions. This concludes our presentation, and we're asking Council to accept the fall IGR report and reaffirm the city's positions in the federal and state legislative logs and adopt the 2025 legislative program and legislative priorities. Thank you very much, and we're available for your questions.
Great. Thank you, Zane, Sarah, Leslie, Steve. Great update, a lot to discuss. Let's go to public comment first.
I have Angel, followed by Yuritsi. Please come on down, you have 2 minutes. And whoever gets to the microphone first can go first. You don't have to wait for the other.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Angel Liano. I'm speaking on behalf of the Silicon Valley Council of Nonprofits. We'd like to thank staff for their updated priorities, supporting transgender people and unhoused individuals, along with their efforts to achieve a living wage and explore alternative 911 response models. We also strongly support the city's renewed opposition to immigrant detention facilities, its expanded advocacy around asylum law, and its advancement of immigrant rights to counsel. Nonprofits are vital partners in the city's efforts to defend and support undocumented residents, along with asylum seekers and all immigrants. And we'd like to thank staff for their additional attention paid to these communities. As these groups face heightened threats in 2025 and beyond, our city must act preemptively to protect community members who will most likely be targeted under the incoming federal administration. And lastly, we'd like to ask City Council not to implement the changes recommended in Councilmember Duan's blue memo. They represent a significant departure from longstanding city policies on tenant protection and housing protection. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, City Council and staff. My name is Yuditsi, and I'm here on behalf of Siren. As you know, San Jose has a long history of being a national leader in showing what it means to represent all of your constituents. Siren has been part of that history for the past 30 years and has secured protections for the immigrant community in the South Bay. At Siren, we are extremely proud to support the staff memo that honors this legacy built from the work of generations of the San Jose community. Through Siren's work with the community, we know firsthand the deep anxieties that many immigrant families are dealing with. Mothers have cried, panicked at the thought of ICE presence at schools or hospitals. Confronting the situation would mean choosing to risk family separation just to meet your child's needs. We routinely explore these situations and continue to face the raw emotions of our community members. Your continued commitment to your immigrant constituents absolutely makes a difference. It allows organizations like ours to provide comfort and hope during a time when it feels lacking. Thank you for staying strong in your values and leadership. We look forward to building further protections for the immigrant community within San Jose as we navigate the next couple of years. Thank you.
Back to council.
All right, coming back to the council. Thank you to our public speakers. Just before I turn to colleagues, I'll just share a couple of thoughts. First, once again, want to thank our IGR team, Sarah Zane, everybody on the city side, and then of course Leslie and Steve for your partnership. My team and I really enjoy working with you all to represent our city in Sacramento and Washington and advocate for our needs, and we certainly have a lot. I think it may get more challenging for budgetary and other reasons in the coming years, and we're going to need to work especially closely and be particularly strategic in the coming years. As I think about 2025, despite our own budget constraints, I think it's really important to maintain the trust of our community that this is a year of visible results, that people in our community experience a difference when they walk out of their home, whether they're going to work, school, the park, grocery store, doctor's office, that they see a city that feels and in fact is safer and cleaner, where we're making steady progress to get people indoors into shelter and treatment, and that they see that steady progress. Even simple things came up earlier today, paving the roads, that we're continuing to chip away at those quality of life and public safety responsibilities that we have. I'll continue working closely with our federal and state delegation to fight for more resources and common sense policies that will allow us to move the needle in those areas. I know there's going to be some discussion and debate of some of the items in here. I will probably chime in a little later on some of the tax-related or revenue-related items, but did want to tee things up with a few questions. The first is that we've had a lot of policy change at the state level. The introduction of Care Court, SB 43, which is conservatorship reform, Proposition 1, now Proposition 36. And the lag in implementation, I think, is frustrating many of us. And I'm curious, Steve, this is probably primarily for you, but anybody who wants to chime in, how can we work with our partners at the state level to ensure faster and effective implementation of all these new tools? It seems like our state leaders are trying to address the very real need for addressing mental health and addiction-related issues, unsheltered homelessness, and yet implementation feels very slow. And I'm curious, do you feel our current IGR report is focused on all the things that we should be doing to accelerate progress there? How else can we as elected officials be helpful?
Yes. Yes, thanks for the question, Mayor. And yeah, you rattled off like a number of policy and funding measures that are really historic and monumental. And both with Proposition 1 on the ballot and then now Prop 36 and Care Court. SB 43 was a long time coming as well, and I know you're engaged in that bill with conservatorships. So I think what part of the issue is a lot of new programs to stand up, and the partnership, I think, with the state and the county and the cities is moving along, but certainly not fast enough. And so I think you'll continue to see, tied to the funding, more accountability and demand, I think, from the administration to start to see some action. There'll probably be some more specific language in the budget this year, or to maybe pull back or shift it to other jurisdictions that are doing it properly. So I think in terms of the pressure points, I think they're there, the policies are there, the funding is there. It's just a matter of getting these programs and needed facilities online. So,
and Steve, just on that point, do you anticipate this administration in Sacramento will actually publish, transparently publish progress, measurable progress on a per county basis?
Yeah, and I think there was some of that in the form of dashboards that they put up, but they want to see the information both in the form to the state agencies and both in a form that the public can understand that the dollars are being used properly and effectively. And Lee, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Lee Wilcox, Assistant City Manager. I think I agree with Steve. I think part of it is our ability to step in with partners and actually advocate with the county for additional funding, especially around SB 43. But if we're going to do that, what accountability tools are there so that we have actual insight into those operations? The way a lot of the legislation works for SB 43 and Care Court now is in an annual dashboard. So obviously we can join our county partners and fight for funding around these important programs. I would say at a staff level outside of Sacramento, one of the things we're doing with the county is exploring a data sharing agreement. So we have this data much more regularly and in real time to kind of inform our own operations and our own planning around some of this work. I think some of that work has stalled, so we're trying to re-engage with the county to see what we can get out of that, especially data in the aggregate. So as we, whether it's Care Court, really SB 43, and then there's also just other assistant outpatient treatment of the folks that we bring to the county or the folks that need solutions, where are they going in the volume? And we really need more transparency into what that looks like for our own planning purposes. And so that's something that we'll be doing at the staff level, but there's certainly, if we're gonna lend our support for additional funding in Sacramento, Mayor, asking for additional accountability and transparency is something that we can always do.
Great. Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen on Care Court, SB 43, our jurisdiction here in Santa Clara County or others, the numbers are pathetically small relative to the need. And so I would like us to advocate for more frequent reporting and like to see us bring that back to council in whatever's the appropriate format when relevant, as we're talking about issues like unsheltered homelessness and public safety issues in our city, since so many of these new policies and funding streams are really state to county, but we get blamed. Okay, let me touch on a couple other items and I'll turn to colleagues. I think we've made some good progress in the last 2 years on reducing blight, but there are at least 3 areas where we are limited by state laws and operations. I just want to highlight those and get your thoughts on them. One is encampments and graffiti and other blight on state-owned land, Caltrans property, and I'm fairly frequently in touch with our partners at Caltrans. Number 2, stolen shopping carts, which I was happy to see called out. We have something on the order of 2,000 shopping carts per year in the city of San Jose stolen and then ending up in our creeks on our side of our streets. They're dangerous, they're blight. I've personally fished dozens of shopping carts out of our waterways. As we seek to comply with the Clean Water Act, we clearly need to get upstream, excuse the pun, of some of this pollution, but there are real limitations from state law on how much we can incentivize the retailers to properly manage their property and prevent theft. And then number three, there are some very significant limitations in the California Vehicle Code on our ability to enforce basic health and safety measures related to oversized and lived-in vehicles on our streets as well. And I guess I'm curious if other cities are communicating this in Sacramento. I've certainly, whenever I've had a chance to speak with state legislators, mentioned some of these gaps and where we need the state to meet us halfway. Do we think there's an appetite? Is there an awareness? Is there an appetite? It's something I personally want to be talking about, but I'm curious, Steve, what you're hearing on these kinds of more tactical, day-to-day blocking and tackling issues that affect us at the local level.
Yeah, there are a number of cities that have tried to put in place some of the programs that you're talking about, San Diego in particular on the shopping cart program. But again, I think there are limitations, and we have had an opportunity to see some of the analysis from the team in terms of where there are shortcomings in law. And I'm actually surprised. I think there were changes in the 80s and maybe the last change, maybe some point in the early 90s, that has not been revisited. So I certainly think that is ripe to take a look at. And equally on the Caltrans right-of-way issue and the coordination with Caltrans, we have heard that is an issue for a number of big cities, so I think you would have support in that regard. And then on the lived-in vehicles, I think similarly, I'm not aware, I can't say offhand, like what other cities, I know Los Angeles, I've heard somewhat about it, but I don't know exactly what their policies and if they're running into the same challenges. But all in all, I'd say the issues that you identified are certainly, the tide has shifted somewhat in terms of the legislature's willingness to take those on. I think there's I don't want to say renewed, but there certainly is an interest in neighborhood beautification, and then taking on maybe these policies that maybe 5 years ago were not ready, but today I think they are.
Okay, it's good to hear. Maybe we can follow up more offline. Certainly a topic of conversation with big city mayors. Turning to LA for a moment, maybe Leslie, starting with you. Obviously, we're seeing just a horrific tragedy unfold in Los Angeles, and our hearts go out to Angelenos. We've sent mutual aid, have our firefighters down there risking their lives to protect our neighbors, our fellow Californians. What's your read on how the incoming administration is going to handle disaster relief funding, and what should we just be looking for in the early weeks of this administration?
It's a great question, and it certainly has been a topic of conversation in DC this week. I think you are seeing some rhetoric at the moment, some very heated rhetoric about potentially tying conditions to FEMA aid. That said, the president-elect is actively talking about going out to Los Angeles as early as next week. And furthermore, just actually moments ago, you saw Speaker Johnson walking back some language about tying aid to conditions. And I think there is a real sense in Congress that, it's LA today, but it could be any one of these places tomorrow.
That's right.
And so my sense at the moment, I am cautiously optimistic that aid will be forthcoming to Los Angeles. We are fortunate, of course, that there was a disaster supplemental funding bill that was passed, that while that was intended for the hurricanes on the East Coast and South, there is funding available there. It won't nearly be enough, but at least it's a starting point. And so I think we're cautiously optimistic at the moment that LA will be able to get the resources that it so badly needs right now.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for sharing that insight. And then Steve, at the state level, there's obviously the climate bond, which will be a source of revenue as we try to position ourselves to attract the resources we need to do more vegetation management and other disaster prevention, preparedness. What do you, obviously it's very early, but what do you think, if anything, will change in terms of availability of funding for this kind of work, given how tragic, just how horrific this has been, and how impactful is going to be quite possibly the most expensive natural disaster in U.S. history? What do you think is likely to come out of the state legislature this year relative to funding or other resources to prevent these kinds of tragedies?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think as Leslie pointed out, and you did as well, that certainly the first response is, dealing with the situation in Los Angeles, but both in the bonds and what we saw yesterday when the governor's announcement with this $2.5 billion, it's not limited to Los Angeles in that it does have funding available for fuel reduction and other fire prevention measures. And with the bond, the $10 billion bond approved in November, the governor last week released $2.5 billion. And there is funding in there for local fire prevention grants, including vegetation management. It is, I say, only $59 million. Certainly that's not enough given the need. So I do think there should be efforts, and assuming they'll be receptive to increasing funding in those categories. I mean, that's in the bond, so there's limitations on how you can move money around, but certainly the governor prioritized that in his first release of the 10. This is what he allocated for. But I think we need to look closer at the 2.5 and other opportunities to provide the funding. But certainly I think there is the wherewithal to want to do something there. I think it's just focused advocacy around the specific programs that we need here in San Jose.
Okay, well, we'll want to work closely with you as there's discussion of additional funding, both to advocate for it, but also make sure we're well positioned to go compete for it. And then I had other questions, but I want to get to colleagues. I'll just close my initial comments here by also just sharing with colleagues. I was in LA 4 weeks ago, meeting with the big city mayors. Mayor Karen Bass hosted a group of us at her home, and we spent a couple hours together talking about our priorities for this year. And once again, the Big City Mayors Coalition is prioritizing HAP funding, as was mentioned, as our #1 priority, with trying to preserve funding for youth jobs, particularly for vulnerable youth in our community, as our #2 priority. And there was a lot of discussion about the first question I asked, which is how we work together to ensure fast and effective implementation of all of these new tools that are meant to help us get at this complicated interlocking set of issues related to homelessness, addiction, untreated mental illness, petty theft and lower level property crime, and just this whole constellation of issues that big cities are really struggling with. I also had questions about housing and CEQA and other things, but I'll leave that for colleagues. So let me turn to Councilmember Cohen next.
Okay, thank you. Start by just thanking the IGR team, Sarah, Zane, Leslie, and Steve, for the report and for all the work that you do throughout the year advocating on our behalf. I'm honored to be representative for the League of Cities, and I will say that, and I say this I think every time you give a report, but it bears repeating that we are very fortunate in a city like San Jose to have a team of our own to do advocacy on our priorities on our behalf. Most cities don't have that. They rely on firms like Cruz, but also the League to collectively advocate on their behalf, and that doesn't necessarily always represent the interest of the local community. So I think it's great to have the team doing this work. I want to thank you for the report that you brought forward and for the summary of the priorities. And to be clear, the priorities that are presented to us today are not priorities that you and a team sort of pulled out of a hat or spent the last month trying to devise. They're priorities that you've heard from us, that we as a council over the years, and not just last year, but for many years, have built our views on what we believe is best for our community, what we want to advocate for, and you have brought that forward. This report is an amalgam of that council input, particularly on some of these things that just many conversations were had on this dais in the last year about lots of these issues, and you are representing what you have heard that we have charged the city staff with carrying out on our behalf. So I want to thank you for doing that. Just going to call attention to a couple of important items first before I ask some questions on some others. Obviously, many of us are concerned about what the new incoming administration means for civil rights, particularly hearing the new court case that threw out the Title IX protections for transgender. I'm very concerned about members of the transgender and LGBT community, certainly for our immigrants and what it's going to mean for our immigrant community, and I'm appreciative that obviously that's highlighted and called out in this report. I think the mayor at the very end said he'll ask about CEQA later. I'll just ask about CEQA now. So I think many of us believe that CEQA often is used as a tool that's not what was intended necessarily by people who are strong supporters of CEQA. And so I'm glad to see there was a call out in the legislative priorities about CEQA reform and what we can do to advocate for being able to expedite some of our projects. Can you just talk a little bit about what our position will be on CEQA reform going forward and how we'll advocate?
Sure. I can get started, but maybe need somebody from planning to come down a little bit. We have advocated for CEQA reform, and we saw that, I believe 2 years ago, we received some of the CEQA reform, especially as it was related to federal projects, to make sure the federal projects were being able to move through the NEPA process. But maybe I can ask Jared or Martina to talk a little bit about the CEQA reform that we seek. Or Chris, sorry.
Yeah, and obviously I think, as we focus on many of our infill projects, I hope that we will be advocating for changes to CEQA that will maybe allow our projects to move more smoothly and not have to be bogged down in some of that.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Chris Burton, Director of Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. Obviously, we monitor all of the conversations around CEQA pretty closely. I think where we've seen most recent changes around infill exemptions, we're looking for opportunities to align our process with those changes that come forward. I don't know that we expect large whole-scale CEQA reform coming down the pipe at this point, but as we look forward, especially as we've gone through this experience with most recent housing element, we're looking for all opportunities where we can align, certainly at a broader level, with programmatic CEQA clearance that allow us to move projects much quicker. And then ultimately, sort of in addition, how we look at our process to meet more of the sort of statutory exemptions, like through the recent approval of a ministerial process.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and again, what we're likely to get is not necessarily as important to me as what we as a city enunciate as our values to help us achieve our objectives. So, we may or may not be successful in many of these things this year, or there may not even be any activity in some of these things this year. But these are the values that we will continue to be thinking about as we evaluate legislation that comes forward. So, thank you, and thank you, Chris, for that. On community safety, I know there's obviously the heightened awareness of fires. There obviously wasn't much in this report, and we haven't talked a lot about fire protection. I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Dewan, for calling that out in his memo. I think it is important for us to add something into our legislative priorities that articulate that we want to have partnership with the city, with the county, with the state, and with federal government on funding for fire suppression, support for fire prevention, and particularly in the urban wildlife interface zones in our city, in the hillsides on the east and west side. We've seen that those are might be some of the most vulnerable areas in wildfires environment that we're living in California. Making sure our hillsides are prepared, continuing to seek funding for vegetation control in vulnerable areas, similar to what we did with a big grant we got for Allen Rock Park to thin out non-native plants and fire and try to protect from fire. We should be thinking broadly about how we can bring that into many of our hillsides. So I would, when I make a motion, I'll ask for some language like that to be put in as well into the priorities. I'm going to spend a little bit of time. Well, first let me ask you a question about the federal funding. I know that there's a likelihood that federal funding for many of our priorities will be cut and will be deprioritized by the incoming administration. So what do we anticipate our federal approach to be moving into the next administration?
So there's certainly going to be a downward pressure on the budget. The piece that I think we have to remind ourselves is that while, yes, Republicans do have a trifecta at the moment, they have the narrowest majority in history in the House. And in the Senate, it largely requires 60 votes to do anything, with the exception, of course, as we're talking about budget reconciliation. That said, even budget reconciliation, given the magnitude and scope of what they're trying to include, is going to be very, very challenging for them. So I just want to do that as sort of table setting. It's still, really, really concerning. I think Part of it is, we've got a really good articulation in this document of priorities, and we work really, really closely, not only with California cities, but really with cities across the country. And we think really strategically about mapping the relationships where there are cities with like-minded interests who are also, frankly, in red states, to make sure that we are surrounded by folks who can also get to Republicans and to explain the need for some of these programs. I also think that in this environment, it's going to be really, really important and helpful to also have some of our private sector partners at the table with us. Because, for many of these issues, this isn't just a local government issue. Public safety is an economic development issue. Frankly, immigration is an economic development issue. And so explaining creatively and having the right validators with us is going to be really important as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and obviously this may not be specifically city, but one of the achievements we talked about in the presentation was the $5 billion grant from FTA. I'm very concerned about it. But we ought to be making sure, as we're advocating for that going forward, to remind people that the jobs created by that are not just going to be San Jose jobs, Bay Area jobs, but national jobs to support what's going to be needed to build out this infrastructure so that we can get support from people across the country to continue on this work. So that's something I want to make sure we're thinking about. Before I wrap up, make a motion, I just want to, I know there's a lot of questions about how we move forward on this question of local revenue, and there's this sort of idea out there that there was some overwhelming rejection of this idea at the polls. I'll just point out that, first of all, I was proud to be on a council that had nine votes to support Prop 5 on last year's Met ballot. That represents the values of this council. Or the previous council, at least. And while Prop 5 did not pass this year, the vote in San Jose was about 50-50. So we have no overwhelming mandate one way or the other from our voters as to how they felt. This was in a tough electoral environment year, and a year in which there was clearly a misleading campaign that Prop 5 was going to raise everybody's taxes and was an attack on Prop 13, of which it really wasn't. And yet, half the voters in San Jose support the idea of making it so that our city has more tools in its toolbox to be able to provide infrastructure bond money to do the work that our residents demand every day that we do. And I know this won't be a major focus of our advocacy this year. There's nothing coming. There's not going to be a bill. But I think it's really important for us to continue to enunciate our value that local bonds should be a tool. And for context, we have continually raised sales taxes and done other things on our voters and our residents in our city because having an infrastructure bond is very difficult because it requires 2/3. So we rely on other sources of revenue, and we don't actually have a tool that is more appropriate for a lot of the infrastructure work we need to do. And while we know Measure T is going to expire, we know we have work to do on SAP Center and our other cultural buildings. We have a $1 billion backlog of infrastructure. People are asking us to upgrade our parks, and we're going to need a bond for that. We should have this tool in our toolbox, and I think it's great that our city will continue to at least have a value that we should be just like school districts. When a school district goes out to get an infrastructure bond for their school facilities, they require a 55% vote. It's not even a majority. They still require a supermajority of 55%. When the state goes out for a bond, like they did with this year for climate and schools, it only requires a simple majority, but yet when a local jurisdiction, who is the closest to the residents, and we talk a lot about local control, when a local jurisdiction wants to have very targeted money in a bond, it requires 2/3 of the local voters to support it. And I've been frustrated by that, and I think we ought to continue to stand for the value that we ought to consider aligning ourselves with the other jurisdictions on this. So I'm happy to see that remaining in this report. So given all that, I will make a motion to accept the staff recommendation with one addition, which is the fire prevention and suppression. Language with something like seeking state support for fire prevention and suppression in our city, particularly on urban wildlife interface zones. Collaborate with county and state to ensure hillsides are prepared and seek funding for vegetation control.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, number of hands, and I'm sure a lot of discussion to go. Let's turn to Councilmember Dewan next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager and IGR team. I know it's enormous amount of work for the amount of staff that you have. To me, is, there's a lot of polarized position that should not be included in the documents. And all that means is that the IGR will come to the council for direction on issues that's not listed. Not being listed is not a reflection of support or opposition. For example, homelessness and housing. First and foremost, we're addressing homelessness. I propose a shift in the language in IGR team direction, replacing the unhoused with unsheltered residents to more accurately reflect the people we serve. This change is part of the broader strategy to reduce unsheltered homelessness. This includes advocating for flexible homelessness funding, more shelter services, and a broader range of supportive housing initiative. A key element is to continue partnership with Santa Clara County to create more shelters, alongside expanding homelessness prevention services. Regarding our community safety and fire prevention and suppression, we asked our IGR to advocate for additional funding, policy changes, pardon me, that help reduce crime, improve safety, bolster the Vision Zero initiative, and make our neighborhood a more secure place for everyone. This including support legislature to increase the number of firefighter and police officers in San Jose, alongside seeking resources for fire prevention measures such as controlled burn, fire breaks, and increasingly vital in the face of devastating wildfires that we've seen in Southern California. As a retired fire captain, I cannot emphasize the importance of this enough. It's not if, but when this will happen to our city and our surrounding neighbors. If it's predictable, it's preventable. And it is our responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen down LA to our city here in San Jose. Importantly, all of this work will be done with an equity lens, ensuring that the most vulnerable among us, particularly in immigrants and community of color, are protected and have access to the resources they need. Housing priority lobbying have been expanded to address the full spectrum of need. We support initiatives that help both tenants and property owners, especially those in low-income housing. We also aim to increase housing supply by supporting both affordable and market-rate housing production, ensuring that the city like ours have the resource from the state and federal program to meet our housing goal. I also asked IGR to ensure that all tenant protection and eviction efforts fall in line with the city current policy and council decision, and not to advocate for anything beyond what was already approved here in City San Jose. We cannot forget about sustainability. Our city is committed to improve air quality, fighting climate changes through programs that encourage electrification, energy efficient, and decarbonization. These efforts make our environment cleaner, but we must also ensure that the policy we advocate for do not impose undue significant financial burden on residents, particularly homeowner and tenant in vulnerable community. On the federal level, we'll continue to advocate for policy that align with our local priority. We also engage with the state to ensure funding and affordable housing and homelessness prevention is priority. In addition to these priority, we are proposing a new process managing our legislature's position. We recognize that some issues are highly contentious and divisive. In such case, we propose that the intergovernment relation develop a new mechanism of action to be able to quickly gather council position and respond to an item without a support or an opposed position. This ensured that the City Council has the opportunity to deliberate on matters before any stances is officially adopted. lastly, because of the content of the message is so dense, we want to make sure that the council have a full 2 weeks notice of the priorities of the program prior to making decision for its yearly proposed meeting. I just want to emphasize that if something is removed, it doesn't mean that we don't support it. It only means that a position on the item has not been taken by the council, and therefore it needs council input. At this point, I have several questions for Sarah, if you don't mind. In housing stabilization and eviction prevention, it said we will advance state legislation related to eviction and accessible same day to jurisdictional and court cases. This seemed like an issue that the City Council should weigh in upon prior to supporting. Can you clarify if I am correct and that your team would come to Council for direction?
Thank you for the question, Council Member. I think that there's a number of policy positions that relate to eviction prevention. And I think there's been a lot of discussion at City Council on this issue. We would base any recommendation on previous conversations from the City Council and would rely on our department staff who are here on any given Tuesday listening to those discussions. If an item were of a polarizing or controversial nature, we would always bring that back to City Council, be it about evictions, be it about public safety, any item. But we do rely on the legislative program and the discussions you have here to inform the advocacy that we have.
Thank you. And under housing and rent stabilization, the documents say this, including supporting state legislation to amend Costa-Hawkins. Would you please commit to the council that IGR will not be taking any position on Costa-Hawkins without first coming to the council for direction?
Thank you, Council Member. I think similar to my previous response, if there is legislation introduced that is moving in any particular direction and it's of a polarizing or controversial nature, we would bring that back to City Council.
And the last question is very similar. In the housing section, rent to own home ownership, which sound like it's incorporate the tenant's right of first refusal, also known as TOPA. Would you please verify that this item does not in any way address TOPA, that any decision regarding the right of the first refusal would come to the council prior to IGR taking any position?
So in regard, it sounds like two questions there. I'm going to ask our housing director if he could help out on the policy question.
Thank you, Councilmember. So Eric Stolibon, Housing Director. So on the question presented regarding TOPA or COPA, so that initiative failed in 2023. It is not included in the current housing element and will not be brought forth again from the Housing Department.
Thank you. Well, I'd just like to leave with this. Thank you to the City Manager and IGR team and multiple department director and to my staff for their hard work on these issues. I'd like to thank Mayor Mahan and his team for working with me on this memo. And I'd like to substitute motion to approve my memo.
All right, I'm not here in a second to do for a substitute motion. I do want to thank Councilor Dewan for all of his thoughtful feedback on the IGR report. While the blue memo is coming a little late for everybody to be able to consume it and form opinions or discuss within Brown Acts on it, I do think there's a lot in here that's worthwhile. I was glad Councilmember Cohen picked up the fire risk mitigation components of this. I think you've continued to be a strong advocate for broadening our set of homelessness solutions, and I appreciate you continuing to advocate vociferously for that, something I fully support. And I think your point about the need to really prioritize housing production and fiscal responsibility are values we share. So I appreciate all of the thinking on that. I haven't heard a second on a substitute, so I'm going to move on to another colleague, but there's still a lot of hands up, and we'll see how the conversation evolves. Councilmember Candelas.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by thanking staff for your work on this, and working to change state law to change some of the things that are hindering our ability as a city to provide, whether it's safe, clean, or basically strong neighborhoods. And the work I referred to specifically on the copper wire theft, and specifically calling it out because I know that's something I get a text about every other day, because we have something going on in our city, and making sure that we are at the forefront to give us the most tools available to tackle that issue is critically important. This item is always super interesting, not just because of my previous role in this very arena, but I can tell every one of my colleagues firsthand that the guardrails or these guiding principles are important, because that's what they're guardrails, and not to be so specific on certain issues that we hinder our staff's ability to actually bring home results. I especially appreciate staff's work, for example, last year with making sure that we're preserving local dollars with the appropriations we had in the previous fiscal year. And I'm selfishly saying that because of the work around Lake Cunningham. So thank you for your work on that. Given Prop 4's passage and the $10 billion available, there's different buckets of money, whether it's for wildfire resilience programming to the tune of, I think, $1.5 billion. How much of that can we basically go after? Or are we thinking as a city to go after any of that specifically for wildfire mitigation dollars or wildfire programs, given my district's proximity to the foothills and some of the communities that border these areas? I think that's critically important. So I'd like to hear from staff or the administration on whether we've looked at that, or when the guidelines for these specific dollars are set to come out, so we're not flat-footed and we are indeed ready to apply for any programs once they have been solidified.
Thank you, Councilmember. We've been very actively engaged in Prop 4 from its inception last year, and we actually did a lot of pointed advocacy in partnership with Valley Water to adjust some of the buckets to make the pots of funding more available to the city of San Jose. I'll let Steve weigh in here, but I think that we're just waiting for implementation guidance to come out, but we're already identifying areas in which we could apply from those different buckets of funds.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the first tranche of the climate bond was the 1.5, and that was specific for wildfire. There are other programmatic expenditure set-asides, and one of them, for example, is land conservation, and so that's 1.2 billion, and it's for protection and restoration. So I think, as to the extent that I think that the administration has some flexibility to use those funds for open space management and other things that could be related to fire, I think there will be a desire to do that. As Zane said, though, we kind of haven't seen them delve into that at that level yet, but certainly, given your attention to it, we'll want to actually ask for as much flexibility in that next tranche of funding, and then pay attention, obviously, to the 1.5 that's out there currently.
Perfect. And then I guess my next question would be, so do our priorities currently allow for, say, within the same program, there's a $700 million park creation or outdoor access program, say Lake Cunningham restoration, to be able to tack onto and maybe get some of the $700 million available? Do our guiding principles and programs allow for us to be nimble enough to be able to go get dollars from, say, that program, given how limited, we're just having a conversation of local dollars, we are for this type of specific project in our city?
So, Councilmember, I think the answer to your question is we do feel that we have the authority in the legislative program to apply for these different buckets of funding, especially as they relate to city priorities. And one of our 5, legislative priorities is about equitable investment in our neighborhoods, and I think it falls in that category.
Perfect, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So go get that money, bring home the bacon, and to make sure that we have dollars to do some of these projects. And I guess another idea that came to mind when the mayor was actually talking about the wildfire mitigation dollars. I noticed that we're looking at the cap and trade authorization, advocating for that. And I would hope that in those conversations, when we're talking about cap and trade and how the legislature decides to reauthorize that we are specifically angling our city to be able to tackle and take some of those dollars through the cap and trade reauthorization, because I think there's an opportunity for us to be able to get even more dollars through this environmental greenhouse gas reduction program. So I would encourage staff to do that. And I don't envy the challenges ahead, not just for you, but for our city, given the federal administration coming in times of changing climate and quite frankly, shrinking dollars. But I'm confident in our excellent administration and our IGR office, and look forward to working with you all in the coming year. Appreciate it. Look forward to supporting the motion on the floor.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate that. Let's turn to Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. I know I may exceed my 10 minutes, but I hope not. Thank you for the presentation and all the work that you do. You have a huge legislative agenda, and I'm not sure how the 4 of you accomplish it in all that you're watching. And the report that you provided us was in such detail that it was really hard to absorb all of it, and particularly with the memos that have come out later, and comparing the two was complicated and difficult for me. But I have a few areas I'd like to talk to you about, and one is near and dear to my heart, as you know, and that's Vision Zero, and as it relates to federal funding. One source of grants for Vision Zero for implementing our quick builds and other pedestrian safety measures that we take throughout the city is funded through federal grants. Do we have, which we will start applying for probably in March, do we have a backup plan for funding should it appear that California or the Bay Area or we will not be getting the Vision Zero funding that we need? Or do you have a strategy for pursuing Vision Zero, as you mentioned, working with other cities that may be red states? Are we looking at a coalition to get joint funding?
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm probably going to defer to the Department of Transportation. I see John here on funding strategy, but we do foresee a sharp decrease in federal funds, especially in terms of competitive grants. And so we're looking to build out those strategies. I think that, in particular on, it's not Vision Zero, but on the BART project, for example, we've embarked on a strategy in partnership with VTA that makes it the narrative change to be really about a national project impacting cities and states all over the country. I think 43 states would be suppliers to that, but I'll let John talk a little bit about funding strategies.
Thank you, Councilmember. John Russo, Director of Transportation. Actually, I think Zane covered a lot of it right there, so thank you for that. Yeah, with the uncertainty of what the federal program is going to look like, and we actually just heard from our federal lobbyist that the whole transportation bill will need to be reauthorized. What that looks like, we do not know. Generally, every administration changes it. I hope there is a robust one, so we'll have to see what that looks like, where their priorities go, how those grant programs come about, and what they are intended to address. We're going to go after every grant that is possible there, and we've been pretty good at it. And I think the type of grants that we go after are universal to any administration. It's about roadway traffic safety and the things that you're talking about. Given that, it's still uncertain, but we work pretty closely with our statewide large cities through two different groups that we work with on how to position cities for achieving good grant results and the programs that come with those, and a lot of help from our IGR team. So I think a lot to remain to be seen, but still confident that there needs to be a real robust transportation bill.
Thank you, John. And after all, Vision Zero saves lives, and it shouldn't be red or blue, right?
I'll just jump in for one moment, because I'm actually going to be able to provide some good news for once, and not just be the messenger of doom and gloom. But I will just say that I think of the bipartisan infrastructure law. I think the Safe Streets and Roads program has really been seen as a success, and it's a program that has impacted red states, red cities, blue cities, to the degree that that exists. But I will say this is a huge priority for a number of groups in surface transportation reauthorization, which is coming down the pike. And in fact, there's a hearing tomorrow on that. The other piece in terms of, as we think about backup plans for funding, is that in the past, this has been a really attractive project for earmarks. And we expect earmarks to continue. Also, in the surface transportation reauthorization bill, there may be an opportunity to do earmarks in that as well, and those actually historically have been even a little bit bigger than the community project funding that you get from your congressional members in the ordinary appropriations process. So those I think we should also have on the radar, but I really think that there's going to be a nationwide push to continue the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program.
Great, happy to hear that, thank you. Then on the local level, or the state level as it relates to Vision Zero, is there any pending legislation, or is there a legislator looking at possibly that we could co-sponsor or encourage to sponsor legislation to allow us to have local control over speed limits?
Thank you, Council Member. We have had initial conversations trying to understand what the legislative packages will be for our various state representatives, and the introduction deadline is January 26th, I believe. So we're kind of in a wait and see, but we've begun the conversations, especially as I know you were focused on the one around schools and school zones, and we had the initial conversation with Assemblymember Berman, and I think that he's still contemplating his entire legislative package, but we have demonstrated how supportive you would be of legislation like this, and we're happy to continue the conversation with him and his team.
Okay, great. I noticed, so if you could go to the presentation and go to slide 11. In the legislative program that was in the full attachment, it includes a lot of support and oppose items. Many things are included in that. But when you look at the 4 buckets, none of those are included in there. And they're really not even highlighted in, many of them are not highlighted on slide 11, if you can get to that. So I'm wondering, how do you compare or how do you utilize your resources in relation to this full document and the 4 buckets that you just talked about, or the 4 areas that you talked about, including the copper theft and other things, and the shopping carts, and the tiers 1, 2, and 3 in relation to all of this? How do you decide what you're going to go advocate for?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Councilmember. So for our 5 legislative priorities, I like to think about it as that drives about 70 to 80% of our work, and those are the areas in which we focus. And then the rest of the legislative program allows us to be nimble and flexible if legislative windows open up that are aligned with the policy positions that are outlined throughout the document.
Okay, so the document itself doesn't refer to specific legislation. When there is specific legislation, how is council informed about that legislation? And Sarah, you referred to controversial or polarizing legislation before. How will that come back to and how we as a council, how will we be able to weigh in on those?
Councilmember, we have done this a number of times in bringing back controversial legislation, and what that usually goes through is through the rules process, through a city council action report, and we bring that to the rules committee and ask for the council to take a position on legislation. For example, we did this before my time, but when AB 1400 on Assemblymember Kalra's universal single payer, this one came back to council for a position as well. And so we will continue to do that process when there are pieces of legislation that we don't feel, we feel like we need the council to opine on, or it's not included in our legislative program.
And when would that come to rules?
The process would likely come to rules like when legislation is adopted or is introduced. I mean, so when it's introduced, we also really work on amendments initially on things. And so we kind of get it to a place where we think that there's not going to be any further movement. And so we would bring that to rules at that time.
Okay. So for example, Costa-Hawkins is one that I would consider to be controversial. And it doesn't look like the city council actually adopted a position recently. The most recent adoption of a position on Costa-Hawkins was in 2018. And I've been here since 2019, and I know we haven't talked about it. But yet it is in the document as something to watch and advocate for. So I would hope that if Costa-Hawkins comes up, that comes back to rules for a vote, because frankly, I want to have an opinion, I want to be able to venture a public opinion about that and possibly other proposals that come our way, as I'm sure many other council members would like to have that opportunity. So I appreciate that, and I see my red light is blinking, but I'm just going to go through my list really quick because a lot of these questions were already asked. Oh, I know that Councilmember Cohen already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again to show how important it is, and that's CEQA reform. We can do certain things, we're trying to increase building and incentivize building and doing what we can to build as much housing in San Jose as possible. We too need to look at how we interpret CEQA guidelines, but is there any, or should we be pursuing legislation that could reduce the impact of frivolous lawsuits, for example, in CEQA? Should we be analyzing the CEQA itself and seeing where we might be able to modify it and get approval at the change at the legislative level? Just cannot emphasize how important that is.
Yes, Zane, I could attempt to answer. Yeah, I mean, CEQA has been on the agenda for at least the last 10 years pretty actively, and I think there was some success over the last couple of years, particularly with Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks. She did hold a number of hearings throughout the state to discuss permitting and CEQA specifically for both housing, transportation, and other infrastructure projects. And so she's sort of taking stock of those conversations, and we'll expect to be at least a number of bills in the subject area. We heard a little bit about like one and done. So when you have a larger programmatic level CEQA on a master plan project, for example, that you don't have to do it again. We've heard more about the expansion. If you recall SB 7 from a few years ago, or we've had a few of these legacy projects that were included in SB 7, which is expedited judicial review to expand that. Right now it's sort of these larger legacy projects, but try to allow other projects to benefit from a guaranteed, expedited judicial review of 270 days. So those are a few of the ideas that are being kicked around.
Okay.
So hopefully I expect that we'll see some more.
So Vision Zero, CEQA, really important. Just
saying.
Yeah. Among many other things that are important in this docket. And finally, and I know I said that last time with CEQA, and I don't usually go over time, but this is a big document. Finally, I just want to say that we support some things that are really important, and we oppose things that are equally important for us to oppose. And some of the things that we oppose are state unfunded mandates, things that take away our local control. So any time that we can ensure that we maintain local control is really important. So I'm happy to see in this document things that we do support, but there's also some things that we oppose, and those are equally as important. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the work that you do. And let me know anytime you need someone to help you advocate.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to go over to Councilmember Casey.
There we go. Thank you. IGR team, you guys have an impressive portfolio of items that you guys have to go through, so I commend you on your work. I'm trying to reconcile my private citizen role, voting no for Prop 5, with being a new council member on a council that's moving into a tough budget cycle. So I appreciate the desire to identify new funding sources. I'm just having a hard time separating. Councilmember Cohen made a very compelling comment and made some good comments in terms of whether or not Prop 5 was intended to be a workaround for Prop 13, but I tend to think it is. You mentioned wanting to be similar to school boards and the bonds that they pass. Those are paid for by property taxes. And the concern I have is, having just been a candidate and the message that I'm hearing from folks in my district, the number of them that are just waiting for some milestone to move out of the state because they're just tired of being, or having the state and the city's hands in their pockets, make it difficult for me to support this legislative agenda with the language that attack essentially the supermajority required to raise any taxes. But open to more comments that'll change my mind, but I just can't help but to think that lowering the threshold will mean we will definitely tax our folks. An analog is Prop 39, and it's been said that I think 77% of the bond measures that have come before the folks were passed after Prop 39. So I think it'll just make it easier for us to tax our folks and put our hands deeper into our constituents' pockets. So I will not be supporting this as long as it includes that language. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councilmember. Let's go over to Vice Mayor Kameh.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot has already been said, but I will be short. Thank you so much for the report, and thank you for all the work you do. I know what it's like to make sausage, and it's not pretty. And sometimes it's messy, very, very, very messy. So thank you for the work you do, and thank you for some really great results. As I look at your IGR 25-26 legislative session focus, I noticed that 8 out of the 9 focus talks about relationships. We're going to enhance integration with other cities. We're going to engage new elected officials. We're going to, you've got coordination, engagement, dealing with expanding alliances, focused on telling our story, renewed engagement with state and federal offices, and a lot of it is our relationships. I want to come circle to what the mayor first said, which is that our residents expect visible differences in the community. And while the last few years, we've seen some progress, I have seen some sliding back. I have seen much of what the community would like to see even greater. So as we build these relationships, as we do our best to preserve our progress, in using the mayor's words, we need to really, really stand shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues, because at the local level, our residents are not going to tolerate anymore the things that they're seeing in the community. And so, I look forward to your focuses or foci, but at the same time, I really think that we really need to be stronger on emphasizing those common sense policies, as well as not settling for the lag in implementation. When you say you're going to do something, there's a level of reasonableness when things can move forward. And I think that there's some level of frustration. That level of frustration is kind of rising. And I don't think that, at least from what I hear from my constituents, they want to tolerate what they've been tolerating over the last few years. So I hope that as we build these relationships, that we in fact keep that in mind. We need to ensure visible difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I really appreciate that point and your sense of urgency, and I think we all need to be laser focused on the experiences our residents have every single day in our city. That's our responsibility, and we clearly have a lot of work to do. Just to hopefully assuage the concerns of colleagues, I heard Councilor Casey's comments, and having knocked on plenty of doors myself not long ago, and hearing from residents every single day, very empathetic to the real frustration our constituents feel with the high and rising cost of living. It's top of mind for everybody. I think the reality is that while keeping this in the IGR report preserves that optionality, and I think to Councilor Cohen's point is generally in line with where we've been as a city, doesn't mean that can't change over time. I think it's largely a moot point for a while. I think given where our community is, given the rejection of Prop 5, I think it's highly unlikely that it's going to be relevant 2 years from now, maybe 4 years from now. But I also want to remind folks that really ultimately, at least for local revenue, it goes through both, generally goes through the filter of the council having to get a majority to want to put something on the ballot, or a very aggressive bottom-up grassroots effort to go fight to get something on the ballot, and then goes through the hurdle of needing that, hitting that threshold amongst voters. And personally, I've always found it strange that for completely open-ended, no accountability general measures, we just need a 50% threshold. When we go out and tell people very specifically, we are committing to delivering these things that you very much want, and we will deliver, and we will be accountable, and we have a legal obligation to deliver the things we go out and tell you we're going to deliver, we've got to hit the higher two-thirds threshold that is in these highly polarized times with all of the misinformation on social media, an increasingly difficult threshold to hit even for very popular initiatives. And so if I had my druthers, I would probably flip those and say the very specific prescriptive taxes for things we're accountable for delivering should be at that lower threshold, and the more general fund revenues would be at the higher threshold. I also find it odd that other jurisdictions, from state bonds to our school districts, can repeatedly go get the resources they need to deliver on the things that their constituents are asking them to deliver on, and we have a higher and less accessible bar for those of us at the local level who are held accountable for the majority of the quality of life, public safety, infrastructure needs that affect people's daily lives. And so I personally don't see myself voting to go put another revenue measure on anytime soon, and it's got that filter of us and then the voters, so there are a lot of checks and balances here. Very much appreciate, though, the concerns about cost of living and size of government and our need to do what I think we all agree, which is make government better, not bigger. And I think that's a mandate we all have right now. I think the voters have been very clear about that, and I'm sure we're going to all be very focused on making our government better, not bigger. But I lean toward Councilor Cohen on this, despite feeling very torn myself, in that I think having that option and leveling the playing field for different levels of government in the long run, I think would be a good thing, and it's a tool we may want to use. Okay, so I do not see any other hands. We have a motion on the floor with a second. Unless anyone else is dying to jump in, Tony, let's vote on item 3.4.
My screen went blank.
My screen says it's 8-2.
Okay, so everybody's voted?
Everyone has voted. It's an 8-2 vote. You're going to need to fix your screen for the next one, though.
Yeah.
We have item 3.5, which is the report, the IGR report, which we heard concurrently. This is the Fall Intergovernmental Relations Report. Do we have a motion to accept the staff report?
Mayor, I think Councilmember Campos has a question.
Oh, please.
wanted to clarify, I meant a yes vote. I think
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So let's verbally vote.
Okay.
Okay, is the machine not working? The tool's not working
I
for
guess
us?
I could do it again, yeah.
Let's see if we can reset. Let's all wait for 1 second here if we can vote again on 3.4.
Okay, I'm seeing the screen now.
All right, green button is yes, red button is no. Wow, looks like we got to 10-0. Okay, look at that. That was a unanimous vote.
Unanimous on 3.4.
Great, thank you. Now we have the Fall Intergovernmental Relations report. Do we have a motion to accept the staff report? Great. Tony, let's vote. Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Also unanimous, I appreciate that. Okay, we are on to open forum. Thank you to our team, Go IGR team, keep advocating for us. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to weigh in on any city business that was not on today's agenda. Tony, do we have any comment cards?
Yeah, I have Elena Churchill and Araceli Esquivel. Araceli has indicated that she'll be speaking Spanish, and so
Okay.
for those who are new, the wordly translation is on screen 2 of your monitors.
Okay, and our public speakers can come on down,
Yes,
adelante.
so again, that's
So,
Elena and Araceli.
Elena and Araceli, come on down. We'll have 2 minutes each. Let's be sure to listen to open forum.
My name is Elena Churchill, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, City Council members. Thank you, Mayor Matt Mahan, and congratulations on another term. I have been trying to get a hold of you for a better part of a year, so if you don't know who I am, I find that to be quite disturbing. You're looking at the new face of homelessness. I am the face of homelessness now, and I'll explain that. I was employed with a law enforcement agency called CDCR, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I was employed there as a psychiatric technician from 2008 to 2021, where I, for 12 years, was retaliated against for being an advocate on labor and inmate rights. My FMLA rights were violated twice. Multiple bargaining unit agreements were violated. I have suffered extreme obstruction in a manner that is unfathomable. I'm here to address the Wi-Fi security issue we have pertaining to Apple locking Wi-Fi networks to personal devices without consent from the device owner, and no history, nothing has been resolved with Apple in explaining where this network came from. The network is called AT&T Wi-Fi Passpoint. So if you want to know why it is women and children and the underserved and the homeless are being underrepresented, Apple is a good place to start, and I'm here to address that, and I'm here to help law enforcement. Every case I've opened with the San Jose PD has been closed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Cristal Jiménez y voy a hablar en nombre de una de mis compañeras, líder Araceli Esquivel. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Araceli, soy líder de PAC desde hace 4 años. El día de hoy estamos alzando la voz sobre la necesidad de que la defensa de nuestra comunidad inmigrante sea una prioridad. Nuestra comunidad está asustada en este momento, pero también con la esperanza de que nuestra ciudad pondrá como prioridad la seguridad de todos nuestros vecinos indocumentados, que son nuestros amigos, compañeros de trabajo y miembros esenciales de nuestro San José. Varios líderes de la Iglesia de Guadalupe llevan más de 1 año trabajando con la campaña migratoria con el objetivo de obtener más fondos para los servicios legales. Ahora sabemos que este año la necesidad en la comunidad será más grande y más fuerte. Gracias.
Gracias por tus comentarios.
Thank you. Back to council.
Okay, thank you all. With that, we are adjourned.